Welcome to the Fishbowl with everybody. My name is Chief here. Joining me today is Jalen. We are doing our 2025 Louisiana Ragin Cajuns Softball preview, and we're also going to be touching base on the rosters, the schedule, and all that good stuff coming up here on this edition of the Fishbowl Sports Radio. Without further ado, let me introduce everybody to Jalen. How you doing today, Jalen?
Hey, I'm doing well, Chief. Doing well. It's another great day to be a Raging Cajun. But hey, guess what season's coming up? Softball, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, coming up on Thursday this week here. It's gonna be a lot going on there. And guess what? This will be the best RPI the Cajuns can get, and they hadn't even played a game yet because everybody's starting right now at RPI of 1 because we haven't played a game yet. Give them a host spot already. But yeah, I'm done joking about the whole thing here. It was kind of
I was
interesting.
about to say a whole spot.
Yeah, it was already an interesting off season to say the least for the softball team. You had coach Allison Habits coming over from Alabama, where that was her previous stop there, and she played her softball at UL, so back in the 90s and stuff. So that like a lot of homecoming here, and we've been seeing this kind of a trend here in college athletics where, like, especially at UL, there's been this trend with new head coaches have come from hiring from their alma mater, and that regard they're like last time they had to go hire a new football coach. Michael Desmo answered the call there, and we're seeing it again here with Allison Habits as well here. So that might lead to some uh inklings about where the basketball team's gonna go, men's basketball team that is, where they might go hire their new head coach from. So that is the trend that's been going on with UL athletics when they go hire coaches now. And I think part of that is the transfer portal. I think that does add something to that there. But and speaking of transfer portal, Jalen, there's been a lot of Cajuns hit the portal since Gary Glasgow left last season. Uh, what was your first reaction when you saw all those players hit the transfer portal after Gary Glasgow left?
Yeah, Chief. I think when it came to a lot of those players like being in the portal, I think that's because, like you said, Jerry Glasgow was leaving, Allison Habits coming in. A lot of those players was like, okay, Jerry was our guy. He brought us to the NCAA tournament for many, many years. And some of those players even went to Texas Tech to be there with him and his coaching. But when Allison Habits came in, not only you have somebody that's familiar with the Raging Cajuns, but you have somebody that has that experience from being on the coaching staff at places like Alabama, who has that experience and years of coaching. So I think when it comes to that, it made it easier once she transitioned in to be like, okay, hey, I need to get some girls in that fits my team now, not Jerry's team. And I think a lot of these girls have bought in. And now, like you said, everybody starts off with the same RPI because no games have been played. But we're going to see coming up this week in their first home game, we're going to see what this team is made of.
Yeah, so for 5 games right off the dock, basically from Thursday to Sunday, 5 games will be played, and Seton Hall is first up against the Cajuns. They'll play each other on Thursday night. Then they got number one Texas on Friday, SEC team right there. And this schedule basically is similar to how Gary got Jerry Glasgow had his scheduled out to try to host teams as well because you got Ole Miss coming up very next week. They're on the 14th as well here, and they play Ole Miss twice there. Um, Houston also another Power Five. I the distinction of Power Five mid majors and that kind of thing there. I do think it does hold some weight across all college athletics, whether you want to believe it or not, because that's football is king down here in the South and across the country. Americans like watching football more than anything. So those terminology, even though it isn't quite exactly accurate for these sports, do come into play whenever you're talking to the casual fan base here. And that's the way you got to approach whenever you're talking about this kind of stuff here, because that does make a play and that doesn't, the internal biases that people have when it comes down to tournament time here and how that works there. The Cajuns will take on Auburn in the March. Number 25, Mississippi State, Wednesday. Number 11, Alabama on March 7th and March 8th in Tuscaloosa in the spring break showdown. Iowa's also in that one too. So you have, just right off the bat right there from that, there's a lot going on with that there. So that is something that we're gonna have to look at and see how it goes down and is that way there. So Jalen, what do you think about those games that I just kind of rattled off right there? Do you think that has something to do with like them wanting to get host a regional like they did last year in Lafayette?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think for sure the goal of every team is to host, first of all, start hosting a regional. But I think when it comes to when you're starting off your week and going against not only Seton Hall, a premier team as Texas, Seton Hall again, Georgia, like you're not going against lower schools that's like under the Sun Belt, as you say. You're going against Seton Hall, Texas, then the SEC now. Like you're going against those schools, not only to see how your program is at the beginning of the year, but to see the resiliency this team will have throughout the course of the year, starting off with, let's say, how the girls do in the first game against Seton Hall versus when they play the next day against Texas. And that could be a lose lose. It could be a win win. It could be a win. It's three different possibilities that can happen. But at the end of the day, they're trying to see, especially Allison Habits wants to see how her team can play against the best of the best because that's what it takes. That's what it takes to win a championship in softball in every sport. So but starting off this season against those teams, yeah, this team wants to host a regional again, and it starts off by going against great competition.
Well, also you got the home with LSU as well on March 11th. That's gonna be in Tiger Park. Then they play Marshall right after that one. They get a three-game series against Marshall. You get McNeese for your midweek game. Then you get UOM in that following series there. Then you go at home midweek game against LSU at home. Then to go on the road at Coastal, Louisiana Tech's a midweek game. Three-game series on the road at Troy. Then go on the road to take on Louisiana Tech again. And this team is definitely, I feel like they've been slighted a little bit here. With the way the preseason Sunbelt predictions came out there, uh, saying that Texas State's going to run the conference this year. And granted, the Cajuns did win the regular season Sunbelt championship last year, and they did not win the Sunbelt tournament last year. Last time the Cajuns won the Sun Belt tournament was in 2023. They didn't win it last year. So that is something to kind of keep an eye on whenever we get down with this era here of this Allison Habits era kicks off on Thursday. So do you see them finishing two, Jalen? Or you think there's enough on this roster to get them back on top and win the Sun Belt Conference tournament and winning regular season championship? We know that they've been at the top of this Sun Belt Conference for a long period of time and been NCAA tournament dancing for so many years that it's kind of hard to like keep track of how many years it's been.
Yeah, Chief, I think there's enough talent to win it again. No, I don't think they're coming second to Texas State. I know you're looking at the preseason where Texas State is primed to be number one. And yes, the Cajuns did lose to Texas State in the Sun Belt tournament. But guess what? The Cajuns did win the regular season. I think they're going to win both going into this year. I mean, you have to realize too. Yeah, you had a lot of girls transfer, but there's a lot of the girls stayed. You got Maddie Hayden who came back again, Cecilia Vasquez, Sam Rowe is another great player who stayed with this Cajuns team, who wants to build. With the new Coach Habit. So I think the Cajuns have enough pieces. They have a great coaching staff. Like I said, Allison Habits has experience enough to take this team as far as they can go. And I think they will repeat as regular season champs. But this time around, they're going to actually win the Sun Belt tournament also.
I'm glad you mentioned those returning ones. They did add some like really good players out of the transfer portal and being new players as well. So one of those transfer portal acquisitions that the Cajuns got was Tyra Clary from Reno, Nevada, came from the University of Nevada. She's looking like she's gonna be one of those the top pitchers for the Cajuns. She's a senior. So this is her last year of eligibility here. So she's going to be able to be plugged in there and be able to make a difference here. You know, as far as like newcomers, heard great things about Mallory Wheeler as well, freshman coming out of Florida. So like the travel ball teams they've been playing with in these high schools and stuff been doing pretty well there. So they've been and have several accolades with all those players as well here. So and looking at the pitching staff, you got Sam Ryan, also a senior. And I like, Sam Ryan's been around the Cajuns program for a while. Looking at, you mentioned Cecilia Vasquez, Gabby Stutes, another a redshirt freshman from STM, basically right down the road from Lamson Park itself, right there, right here in Lafayette. She's going to be a hometown favorite for sure. And Lexi Delbury, she's been on the roster for a while too. Sam Rose been on the roster. There's familiar names on this roster here, Kaylor Falterman, that I don't think it's bad enough to where it's going to be like, yeah, this program's going to tank. I think there's enough here. They're going to compete here for sure for a Sun Belt championship here. I think they might. I think they have a good chance of winning this year. If I had to put percentages on how I feel about the Cajuns winning it, it's really hard to go against a program that's been doing it for so many years through various coaching changes. Like, look, since 2017, the Cajuns have had this is their third head coach. Okay, their third one coming in. All right, Michael Latif left, and then they had people thought Gary Glasgow. I saw the same thing happen in 2018 with Gary Glasgow. Oh, it's gonna fall under Glasgow, and it didn't. It kind of stayed there. But there's one thing that the Cajuns that Glasgow did not do, and I think it's very a detriment to him that the program did not get to the heights that it had before under Glasgow before, and when they went to the Super Regionals, I think in 2023, they looked kind of lost. Like they should not have been there. And I noticed that with a lot of like the postseason games with under Coach Glasgow. Nothing against Coach Glasgow. He said that he needed more money to get to these heights here. I don't believe that's necessarily the case because softball is not a big money making sport here for like Ross. Like I know they got NIL and stuff, and I think this is a really good opportunity here because Louisiana itself, if you look across the board here, Louisiana is a baseball state and a softball state. It's not really as much of a football state. Like it's a debate. I can have a debate with somebody whether they say baseball or softball. But if I look at the consensus of all the programs in Louisiana, it's very hard to say that it's a football state because besides, like if you look at LSU, UL, Louisiana Tech a couple of years ago, Tulane more recently, there's always only been like two teams that are kind of in that, or two or three teams in that talk that you're talking about. With baseball, though, we've seen Louisiana Tech, um, Cajuns, LSU, Nichols is pretty good. Southeastern is usually pretty good. McNeese is usually pretty good. There's a lot of talented ball clubs in this state here. Same thing with softball. McNeese, we should have had a super regional in Lafayette when we talked about this in 2023 there. So, looking at it there, and UOM hasn't really been that good in softball. Cajuns are always pretty good. LSU's always pretty good. McNeese is usually pretty good sometimes. So they have players in this state that can play softball and baseball. So I would venture out to say that Louisiana is more of a baseball and softball state. But aside from all talking about the rosters and the talent in the state and stuff, I think that this is going to be a very interesting year for the Cajuns here. I feel like they got a really good opportunity here, and sometimes are you were the Cajuns playing the best players in them spots? Okay, remember, coaching is all about identifying players that you think is going to be the best for your program and do those kind of things there. So I think the Cajuns here, looking ahead here, I think they make it to the regionals. Now, do they get out of the regionals? I mean, their roster, it's going to take time for coach habits to build it up again, right? Because I mean they lost a lot of players to the portal, but they did get some in. Now, are the freshmen going to step up and do as good as we think they will? I think right now I'm feeling like regionals. Think NCAA regionals is probably where they'll end their season at here, but that's just me playing it safe here. Now, if I had to venture and say what's the height of this team here, there's a lot of senior leadership on this team, and like that's a lot of collegiate pitches that have been thrown. Okay, like that's what you expect out of seniors here, and you don't really see that too much in uh this day and age transfer portal, where the Cajuns, I think they have three senior pitchers on their roster that can just come in there and compete here. And you got Mallory Wheeler as well here. Um, you know, um, I mean, with all the players that left the transfer portal for the Cajuns here, Sam Landry, and the massive exodus going through Texas Tech with Gary Glasgow, like you were mentioning earlier here, like Lauren Allred and stuff. I didn't really see much of a drop off between whenever she left and Sam Rowe took over first base. I'm just saying that wasn't much of a statistical difference, and I mean they ended up kind of in the same spot where, like in that regard there too. That's not a knock on anybody at all. That's just what I saw and what the numbers show. So look, I only can analyze what numbers are showing there. But Jalen, let's go run through this a little bit here and just see what happens with this schedule here. So let's start with these first couple of games here. I think they beat Seton Hall. I think they lose to Texas. Seton Hall win, George Mason win, Longwood win. I think they get out of this. I think they win every game except for Texas. What you think?
Yeah, Chief, I agree with you too. I think the Cajuns are going to win every game, but I have them losing to the game against Texas, but I do think that game is going to be close. Beginning of the year matchup. This could have major tournament implications at the end of the year. We'll have to see. We'll do it too early to call it right now, but I think they will take the loss against Texas, but I still think it'll be close, and they'll head all the way into what's that? All the way into Thanksgiving weekend with one loss. Not Thanksgiving. Listen to me, Chief. Valentine's Day
You hung
weekend.
Man, you
Listen to me.
hungry?
I'm still. I
You
must
sound
be
like you
hungry.
hungry.
I must be very hungry. I'm sitting there talking about that. No, Valentine's Day weekend, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Northern Illinois, Ole Miss, and Sam Houston, Central Arkansas and Ole Miss here. So I think I think Cajuns are going to take one from Ole Miss here. I think they're going to split that series with Ole Miss. So I feel like they could do very well here. With that regard there. Looking at how Ole Miss stacked up last season. Let's see. I wonder if it'll keep me in the same. Like, no, it's not. It's gonna flip me back here. So, if you look back at, I think Cajun split Ole Miss here. I think 1-1 record for them during them next couple of games. You also have on the schedule itself Northern Illinois too. I think Cajuns beat Northern Illinois. Uh, in that first game there. Sam Houston, I think they win. Central Arkansas, I think they win. I think but it might take some time for this Cajun team to come together too, because some of these players, I mean, they got some of them got really good experience last year with all the Wait, why did I go there? I was trying to look for Ole Miss. Why did I do that? Okay. Anyway, so yeah, Cajuns finished 45-19 last year. Ole Miss finished 31-27 last year. So, I mean, I can see them splitting it here, but I mean, that's last year. Kind of hard to tell with all the and they went 7 in. I want to see if the Cajuns played them last year. Let's see. I don't remember them playing Ole Miss last year. They did play Baylor. Yeah, Ole Miss, yeah. Ole Miss was in the regional. They did make it to the regionals, but they got bounced out, went 0-2. So, RPI plays a big strong factor in that here. So I'm thinking that is kind of somewhere where the Cajuns are gonna end up going at there in Ole Miss. I think they do get a 1-1 record as well. So if we continue down the road, Jalen, here we got Houston, Kansas City later on in February. Houston 2 games there. No, 3 games in Houston. Ragin Cajun Invitational 2. I think they beat Houston. I think they'll actually might actually probably sweep Houston, honestly, and win Kansas City. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, I'm gonna go on cheap. I'm gonna go on say I'm gonna get the broom ready. I know you usually don't say it in softball, but I would say get the broom ready. I think they're gonna sweep Houston also. They're gonna win all three of those games right there at Lansing Park, and then they're gonna get a win too against Kansas City.
And then next they got the Jane B. Moore Memorial, Rutgers, McNeese. This is in Auburn, Rutgers, and they'll play Auburn in back-to-back games there. That's gonna be a very interesting series, I think, on that road schedule there for them here. McNeese is gonna be a good matchup for them. I think they'll win against Rutgers, beat McNeese, beat Rutgers. Auburn at Auburn's going to be a tough one there. I think they'll split 1-1 there against Auburn as well. So I got them having three losses in like heading into that Mississippi State matchup on the road. They could Mississippi State's starting the season ranked 25. And just to kind of get us to the spring break showdown, I think they'll drop that game on the road to Mississippi State as well. What do you think, Jalen?
Yeah, so I think Rutgers, I think it's going to be wins for the Cajuns. McNeese going to be a win. They're going to first go into Auburn and just say, "Hey, we're going to pull out these wins." Like I say, the two at Auburn, I think those are going to be split also. I think that yeah, I think those are going to be split right there, and that's going to be the end of that. The Jane B. Moore Memorial. Then, like you said, going into against Mississippi State. That's gonna be a tough one too. I mean, I'm gonna have the Cajuns winning it, but playing. I mean, they're playing some good competition. SEC teams all around the board because we just talked about it. We just talked about Ole Miss, talked about Mississippi State, we talked about Auburn in the SEC, and he said that like we haven't even gotten to talking about when they're gonna face off against LSU. Which is coming up in the schedule, so I think those are going to be some marquee games for this team and see how well they're going to do.
This is not going to be no cakewalk schedule for the Cajuns, which I do
Oh
think.
no,
Yeah, I do think it's going to help them out better. Like a tough schedule helps you out in tournament time and postseason play. You find out who your role players are and what kind of situations they excel in this kind of schedule here. So Iowa, I mean, you got Iowa coming up right there on March 7th at Alabama, Iowa again, then at Alabama. So look, this is in Tuscaloosa, the spring break showdown. So you got four of those games there. Alabama has always been one of the toughest teams in the country. I think they're starting the season off number 12, according to what I'm seeing right here. But looking at that there, then literally right after Alabama, you got LSU coming up right there. So they played basically almost that's their fourth SEC team once they play LSU in on the schedule as we gotten up to here. And then back later on in the back part of the schedule, you do have a game against Texas A&M, so they'll be playing five SEC teams. And we know how much the committee loves looking at the SEC here. Then right out of that Texas A&M game, you got a three-game series against Texas State, so they'll be and then you got Southern Miss to cap it all off. So I think looking at that schedule here, it's going to be a tough one for the Cajuns. Like we said that before, just to kind of get it there. I think like I mentioned earlier, that senior leadership is going to have to come into play at some point in this schedule here, because it's going to be tough on them. This is going to be a really tough schedule to get through for the Cajuns here. And I Alabama's gonna be a tough out, man. They might drop both games in Alabama here, but this might be a bloody spring break showdown for the Cajuns here. I think they split. Man, let me see here. Let me think about how I'm gonna do this here. So Alabama, they made a pretty good run here last year. You know, all like they won the national championship before in the softball program back in I think 2012. I think they won it. I mean, they were 39-20 last year, Alabama. So that's something to kind of look at and see. I think they made supers last year. They made the World Series. Yeah. Okay. I was like, did they get out the supers of the World Series? Okay. Yeah. So they made the World Series last year, which I knew they got deep in the tournament here, but I couldn't remember if they had beaten Tennessee or not. And yeah, they did. So they did make the World Series last year, which rightfully so. I mean, you expect that from a program like Alabama in softball. I mean, that's one of their um, big things here. So this is definitely going to be one of their things here. Iowa last year, 18 and 28, 6 and 17 in the Big Ten. Big Ten is usually not as uh, they didn't even make the regionals last year, Iowa. So I mean, the Cajuns could very well sweep. But like this is that brand recognition thing that I'm talking about here. That you see a team like Iowa, you think, oh, they'll be really good, but no, it's not really the case there. So I think they'll win two. I was thinking about splitting it because it's on the road, and Alabama might have them kind of like want to save up, and they might just sneak one by the Cajuns. But give me both wins against Iowa. I think the Cajuns. I think Cajuns actually take one against Alabama. Let me take back. It might come. Worst case scenario, it's a bloody weekend, and they lose three of these four. Best case scenario, I say it's a two. Probably gonna be a 2-2 somewhere, maybe 3-1, maybe, but I don't think it's gonna be 3-1. Give me 2-2. I think they drop both Alabama and get two wins over Iowa. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, so like we talked about, Alabama, one of the top teams, not in just the SEC, but in the whole nation when it comes to softball. We know that. But I think that Alabama, that first Alabama game of the year, I think the team is going to be like, hey, coach, we know you used to coach there, and we know you want to go into Tuscaloosa and get a win. I think that's going to be a lot of momentum. But first, I think they're going to be Iowa first and foremost, starting off. But that game against Alabama, I think they're going to win that first game against Alabama. I really do. I think the girls are going to be able to come out and play. They're going to be like, "Hey, coach, like we're going to get this win for you." I really think that, especially just her, just seeing her personality, and now we get to see her coaching style on full display. Getting that win, I think that mean a lot to the team to get that win for her. And I think they also win the next one against Iowa. But then the second one against Alabama, I think the Crimson Tide are gonna have their number with that. But like I said, Alabama's still one of the top teams in the nation. And then guess what? You get to go from Alabama to guess what? Your in-state rival LSU. That's a big one every year at Tiger Park. Now that one, I think that's hey, Chief. I don't realize that that's the game before they actually start Sun Belt Conference play. So I think not only will they win this game against LSU, but I think they need this one against LSU to get momentum going in Sun Belt play.
I think it'll be a tough out for the Cajuns though, because I think it's at Tiger Park, and the
Yeah,
Tigers
it
made it
is.
to, yeah, the Tigers made it to the Super Regionals last year before falling to Stanford, in that series there. But I think Marshall, looking at their three-game series, Cajuns look like they'll. I think, man, you know what I'm thinking? They might actually sweep Marshall, honestly. Here, if they drop the game to LSU, I don't think it's going to kill up momentum wise because they might be focused as some they'll play because that's really when the season restarts over again. Then you got McNeese. I think they'll win McNeese. UOM. I think they'll sweep UOM. Then you got the one against LSU again here. I think they'll beat LSU at home here. I usually like trying to do a 50-50 one with them because the way LSU and UL play each other every year in softball is always extremely close. You can cut the tension with a knife in both those games. I think that's the way it's going to be here. I think they'll split it this year. Um, so what you think, Jalen?
Yeah, so that's I'm a okay, I'm gonna say this. Starting off against I think it is gonna be a sweep against Marshall. I really do. Cajuns kicking off Sun Belt play. I think they're gonna beat Thunder and Herd and then win against McNeese, take a little break. Well, not even that long of a break, but take like a couple days off to go against McNeese and then go right back into Sun Belt play against ULM. And hey, Chief, I had them sweeping ULM too. I have them winning all those games until that matchup at Lansing Park in March against LSU.
Yeah, I think the next series right after that, Coastal. I just think they'll drop one of these Sunbelt, like not Sunbelt series, but like this one of the games like they normally do. I think they might just get one like this might surprise them. 2 or 3 against Coastal. Let's go with that there. It could very well happen with Troy as well. I do think they will sweep one of these Sunbelt series again to that point. I think they'll be Louisiana Tech in between there. Louisiana Tech, then they win that one. James Madison might be a tough one in state. I mean, not, in conference battle there. I think they'll take 2 or 3 there. It's Alabama. I think I got them sweeping that one. Texas A&M, I'll get them dropping that one Texas State will be a tough one, but I think they'll take 2 or 3 on the road in San Marcos, Texas, and then they'll sweep Southern Miss at home, I believe. Uh, so let's say one right here, two. I know LSU was three. One is something about series. Let's go four. Mm, Marshall. Let's see. Alabama might be 2 losses there. I think I had six, seven. Auburn might split. That's eight. Houston. I think they'll win. I think they'll end up sweeping Houston. Ole Miss. Let's do nine. I think they'll win there. I think Texas makes it 10. So 10 losses on the year, and that's not bad. That's a really good softball record there. So
That's
what you
not bad
think,
at
Jalen?
all.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
can.
think 10. I think 10. I think their range is 10 to 13. If I had to be honest about everybody here, because it's always shock value. I think sometimes they put out these preseason lists and they don't really like they always kind of like stretch out like, oh, this is what it is. But you got to look at what the are there your keys and your parts there are. Like people underestimate experience here, and like we saw what we did when we did our last season preview thing was football. I think we didn't get a chance to do basketball due to time constraints with everybody, but basketball and women's basketball because it's kind of smack dab in the middle of football season. But if you look at it there it's just tough. Like in there, but like we said it like I especially in transfer portal era, you got to look and see how many like games they played, in-game experience, because that experience does play a big role, and I think that's kind of a forgotten thing in college athletics too that people kind of overlook here. So what you think, Jalen?
Yeah, that is a lot that people overlook. But like we talked about, I mean, 10 to 13 range is not bad. I mean, we're talking about a team that was great last year and they lost overall 19 loss. I mean, you got to think about this too, Chief. I mean, we're talking about a team too last year. They only had 2 conference losses against Sunbelt team in the regular season, that is. And one of the losses came to Troy at the very end in May. And of course, one was to Texas State, which I think they are going to drop at least one of those games too against Texas State. But hey, I mean, this team is if they're able to pull out these wins, and it's not, it doesn't even have to be series wins. If they're able to win like a game or two, or even get sweeps against, like say, these big time SEC teams like like we're talking about the Alabamas of the world, the LSU, like you're able to win these games. There's no way the committee can say this team does not deserve to host a regional coming when it comes to May. So I think that's the goal of this team. I think that bringing in, even if Allison Habits has uh success in year one, it's still year one as being a coach of the Raging Cajuns. So I think the goal is to host a regional and possibly win one. And I
Yeah.
think that should be the goal for the softball season.
And yeah, I think if you know, I think a Sun Belt title was probably going to be the standard, and that's the way it should be. Uh, unfortunately for habits, that's pretty lofty expectations here, but for sure. But I think the Cajun will make a regional. I think that's where their season will end at here, which I don't think it's not a bad year. It's a pretty solid year to say so myself. So. But I think that's where they'll end up at. Now, talking about basketball here, I know we're gonna be kind of cut for time here, but at Georgia Southern, at Northern Illinois, fifth and eighth, they're gonna have games going on there. They're both on the road there, but this is a good opportunity for the men's basketball team to pick up some wins here. But I think they'll split. I got a loss against Georgia Southern and a win against Northern Illinois for the men's basketball team. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing here, Chief. I think they'll lose against Georgia Southern team, who is a tough game on the road. But I think they also get the win against the Northern Illinois team. Northern Illinois is kind of struggling, and the Cajuns
Yeah,
they'll pick up that win.
yeah. Now, switching gears to women's basketball here. They've been riding a rough road for them for a little bit here, not really having too much really going their way here too much here. So 5-6 in the Sun Belt, 8-11 against Division 1 teams here, net ranking of 153 here. Like I said, I was expecting a little bit more here. And Coach Brawhead, I feel like he's gonna have to start winning some games, or I think that seat's getting hotter for him a little bit because of all the experience. They lost 5 of their last 6. So with the loss Saturday against Coastal Carolina, you got a Wednesday game against Marshall, Saturday against Miami, Ohio, and I think they'll beat Marshall, Miami, Ohio, the Max Sunbelt Challenge here. You know what? I think they'll get back winning. I think give me 2 wins, give me back-to-back wins. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with back-to-back wins. Also, it is tough when you start off pretty good at the beginning of the year, you lose 5 of your last 6, but they have the games back to back at home. One being against a Marshall team in the Sun Belt. So I think the Cajuns women's team will get those back-to-back wins and give them some momentum as they go 2 straight games after that against Texas State and then against ULM.
All right. Thank y'all for tuning in here to this episode here of the Fishbowl Radio. Hope you stay up to date with everything going on with Louisiana Ragin Cajuns on our social channels that we have on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Stay up to date with everything you need to know about the Ragin Cajuns right here on the Fishbowl Sports Radio. Have a good night, Fishbowl Nation.